A very good Friday morning to you, Malachy, and this is USISPF's third ever Conversation 6 platform. I am joined by Malachy Nugent, our Vice President of Financial Services. Malachy, happy Friday and a very good morning.
Thanks, Akshay. Pleased to be here.
Pleasure's all mine. F for Friday, F for finance. So you've had a busy couple of days tracking up and down the East Coast, New York and DC. You were with the Vibrant Gujarat delegation and hosting a couple of roundtables on the financial services industry. So what's happening in this space right now?
So we were really pleased to be able to host a delegation from the state of Gujarat for a series of meetings up in New York with investors earlier this week. The first meeting that we had was with about 30 investors, and it was a financial services roundtable. The point of this roundtable was to introduce the International Financial Services Center, which is a component of the Gift City. Gift City is the Gujarat International Finance and Tech City, which is essentially a special economic zone that's been set up in Gujarat to attract investment into the state. And as part of Gift City, they've set up this International Financial Services Center, which is an offshore, it's intended to be an offshore financial services hub situated there in Gujarat in India. The authorities had recognized that a lot of the investment, a lot of the foreign investment that goes into India goes in through offshore centers like Singapore or London or even Mauritius. A lot goes through Mauritius. And so they decided they wanted to try to bring some of that offshore investment onshore and create this international financial services hub within Gift City. It's an interesting idea. And to say that it's moving this investment onshore is actually a little bit of a misnomer because a company that sets up in IFSC really is still technically offshore from an Indian legal perspective. So, if a company were to relocate its investment platform from Singapore, say, into IFSC, they would still be considered an offshore investor, and they would still have sort of that legal status. Um, but at the same time, there are benefits that are some tax benefits, and it makes it easier for companies that want to access the Indian financial markets, but don't want to go through the process of registering, say, as a corporate entity domestically. So they have this option to do so offshore. So it's an interesting experiment. A number of companies have moved their operations into the IFSC, and so we brought together about 30 U.S. investors, institutional investors, and others to hear about IFSC and just spend some time talking with the officials from Gujarat about the various benefits that are available and how this could benefit their particular investment platforms. So that was the first meeting. I think that was quite successful. I think everybody was quite pleased with that opportunity. The second meeting that we had, the second day, was actually even larger. We had about 70 people who came for a roundtable discussion. I mean, a roadshow presentation by the Vibrant Gujarat team. So, Vibrant Gujarat is a biannual business and investment summit put on by the state of Gujarat. It's been around since about 2003. So this is about the 10th summit that they're hosting, and it's like a standard business forum with networking and presentations, knowledge sharing, that sort of thing. So the meeting that we hosted was your typical roadshow for investors who are either operating or considering operations in India, and the presenters talked about the benefits of investing in Gujarat, and there were a number of sectoral presentations about agriculture and about the power sector and that sort of thing. And it was again a really good opportunity for some mixing and some conversations, and for some investors and potential investors to ask questions about what the investment climate is like in Gujarat and how the state can support their potential investments.
Yeah.
One thing that really stood out for me in this meeting, in this roadshow meeting, was a particular statistic about Gujarat, which which was that Gujarat has about 5% of the Indian population, but it produces about 8% of Indian GDP and fully 20% of Indian exports. So to put that in a little bit of context, I crunched some numbers, and the state of Pennsylvania has about 5%, houses about 5% of the U.S. population, but it only produces about 4% of U.S. GDP. The state of Pennsylvania only produces about 4% of U.S. GDP. So I think that's really interesting. It's not to say that Gujaratis are more productive than Pennsylvanians, but what it does say is that a relatively high proportion of Indian productivity is concentrated in the state of Gujarat. So that's really a reason for U.S. firms, U.S. investors to look at Gujarat as a potential site for locating their operations in India. Plus, Gujarat has the tallest statue in the world, which we heard a lot about and saw some interesting videos about. So there is that as well.
Well, Malachy, thank you so much for those insights. It's all the time we have here, and pleasure. Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.